Hello everyone, welcome to my update US Gossip channel. The courtroom was tense, thick with an electric charge that seemed to make the walls themselves tremble as Robyn Brown sat poised at the witness stand, her hands gripping the edge of the podium as if it were the only thing holding her together, and the camera lingered on her face, capturing the faint quiver of her lip, the flicker of fear and defiance in her eyes, because everyone in the room, from Kody to the judge to the ex-wives seated in the front row, knew that what was coming would not only upend the already fragile dynamics of the Brown family but could very well change everything they thought they knew about Kody's life, and Robyn's voice, soft at first, trembled as she began, I can't stay silent anymore. There are things about Kody that no one knows, things that affect all of us, and a collective gasp rippled through the courtroom as the camera cut to Kody, his usually stoic face frozen in disbelief, eyes widening as if he could not comprehend that after years of maneuvering, of secretive conversations, and private decisions that only he controlled, the truth would finally be out in the open, and the tension was palpable as the judge leaned forward, urging Robyn to continue, and with a shaky breath, she revealed the first bombshell, detailing moments Kody had spent away from the family, private meetings, financial decisions made without consultation, and the intricate web of hidden agreements that had quietly dictated the fates of Janelle, Meri, and even Christine over the years. And the camera cut to Janelle, who sat rigid in her chair, hands gripping her knees so tightly that her knuckles were white, her eyes blazing with a mix of anger and hurt as she whispered in her confessional, I can't believe I didn't see this sooner, that all these years I thought I understood him, and he was living a whole other life behind our backs, while Meri's face twisted into a grimace of betrayal and disbelief, tears brimming as she shook her head, voice breaking, I devoted so much, sacrificed so much. And this is what he's been doing? And Robyn, sensing the weight of the moment, pressed on, her tone growing firmer, more determined, explaining not only Kody's secret financial maneuvers but the emotional strategies he had employed to keep the wives pitted against each other, to keep them focused on survival while he quietly consolidated control, and the camera cut to the ex-wives' faces, showing the spectrum of shock, from quiet fury to outright disbelief. And even Kody seemed momentarily unmoored, his usually confident posture slumping as if the air itself had been knocked out of him, while Robyn dropped the second revelation, a shocking account of private conversations where Kody had minimized, dismissed, or redirected blame for family tensions onto the other wives, creating the perception that he was the calm center while orchestrating chaos, and the courtroom murmured, the bailiffs exchanging worried glances, and the judge cleared his throat, trying to maintain order as Robyn's narrative continued. Revealing moments of manipulation that had long been hidden beneath the surface, times when Janelle had been gaslit into questioning her own feelings, Meri had been told she was overreacting, and Robyn herself had at times been complicit, out of loyalty and fear, until she could no longer contain the truth, and the camera cut to Kody again, whose face now registered a combination of shame, disbelief, and the first signs of genuine fear as Robyn explained a particularly damning moment, a meeting in which he had signed documents transferring property, reallocating finances, and making private decisions that would directly affect the wives without their knowledge, and Janelle, fists clenched, leapt to her feet, voice shaking with anger as she shouted across the courtroom, how could you do this to us, Kody? After everything? And Meri followed, standing as well, voice echoing, all these years, all our sacrifices, and this is how you repay us? And Robyn, taking a deep breath, finally revealed the deepest secret of all, something that had been whispered, hinted at, and denied for years. Kody had been living a parallel life in ways that no one had fully realized, involving relationships, alliances, and decisions that had quietly shifted the power dynamic among the wives while maintaining the facade of unity. And as the camera panned across the ex-wives' shocked expressions, the confessional cut-ins highlighted their raw emotions, Janelle recalling sleepless nights and the feeling of walking on eggshells, Meri describing the physical and emotional toll of constant uncertainty, Robyn reflecting on her own conflicted feelings, the loyalty to Kody mingling with guilt and frustration, and the audience was left hanging on every word, knowing that the fallout would not only affect the current courtroom drama but ripple through the family for months, possibly years, to come, and Kody's attempts to interject, to minimize, to redirect blame, fell flat as Robyn's testimony was backed by documentation, timestamps, and accounts from people previously on the periphery, whose voices had gone unheard, and the tension escalated as Janelle and Meri coordinated, unspoken yet synchronized, each challenging the credibility of Kody's denials, pressing the judge for accountability, demanding transparency, while Robyn continued, almost clinical in her precision now, recounting private financial dealings, manipulative emotional patterns, and instances of favoritism that had quietly undermined the other wives' autonomy, and every revelation landed like a hammer blow, eliciting gasps, whispers, and audible reactions from family members, legal teams, and even the public gallery. While in her confessional, Janelle expressed a mix of vindication and heartbreak. "I've always loved him, but I can't love someone who has been living a lie this long." And Meri, equally torn, noted, "It hurts, but I needed to hear this. I needed to see it for myself." And Robyn, though visibly exhausted, stood her ground, eyes locked on Kody as she delivered the final pieces of her testimony, painting a picture of a life he had meticulously hidden, the secrets that had silently governed the family dynamic. And as the last words left her lips, a silence descended over the courtroom, thick, heavy, suffocating, until the judge finally spoke, acknowledging the gravity of the revelations, promising a careful review, while the camera lingered on Kody, a man stripped bare of pretense, and on Janelle and Meri, who shared a glance that combined grief, rage, and the first tentative hints of liberation. And as Robyn left the witness stand, shoulders slumped but expression resolute, she knew the battlefield had shifted, that the family would never be the same, and that she had finally, irrevocably, forced the truth into the light. And as the episode closed, the confessional montages captured each wife's reaction, Janelle pacing in disbelief, Meri staring out a window with tears streaming down her face, Robyn reflecting in quiet solitude, and Kody sitting stunned, no words coming. As the credits rolled over the haunting realization that secrets had been exposed, loyalties tested, and a family once held together by appearances now fractured, raw, and undeniably changed forever. Even as Robyn stepped away from the stand, her heart pounding like a drum, the echoes of her words seemed to linger in the air, wrapping around every corner of the courtroom, making the walls feel both oppressive and alive with the weight of decades of secrets. And Kody, usually so composed, sat frozen, hands trembling slightly as he gripped the edge of his chair, and every time his eyes darted to Janelle, who now leaned forward with a controlled fury, or to Meri, whose tears had not stopped, but had hardened into a gaze that pierced him like a dagger, he felt the reality of exposure like a cold hand closing around his chest, and the camera cut to flashbacks, showing private moments over the years, Robyn narrating in a whisper, "I saw the distance, the hidden calls, the quiet manipulations. I wanted to ignore it, I tried to trust, but I couldn't." And the audience watched as scenes of Kody's secret phone calls, hushed conversations, and unseen meetings played like ghostly shadows against the bright courtroom light, each one punctuating Robyn's confessional as the tension ratcheted higher. And suddenly, the judge banged the gavel, calling for order as murmurs grew, and Janelle rose again, stepping toward the edge of the gallery, voice shaking but fierce, "I gave everything, Kody. I followed you, I trusted you, I built this family, and all the while you were living another life." And Meri, no longer able to stay seated, stood beside her, voice rising in tandem, "We sacrificed. We suffered. We loved. And what did it mean to you? Nothing? Just another game?" And Robyn, standing slightly apart but resolutely, watched as the sisters, once pitted against each other by circumstance and Kody's subtle manipulations, now stood united in anger and disbelief, a silent alliance forged in betrayal. And the camera captured the raw power of that moment, the quiet intensity of years of repression, the pain of loyalty turned sour, and the emotional toll of a man whose secrets were finally surfacing. And as Robyn continued to speak, her voice gaining strength, she detailed more than just financial and emotional deception, revealing instances of favoritism, the subtle undermining of Janelle's confidence, Meri's autonomy, and even her own position in the family, showing how Kody had leveraged each wife's love and trust to quietly maintain control. And flashbacks illustrated the patterns, late-night arguments reframed as her overreactions, family meetings where decisions were presented as mutual but were pre-decided, and the secretive alliances Kody had formed, leaving each wife isolated and questioning her own judgment. And the courtroom felt the weight of it all, the whispers turning to audible gasps, some covering mouths in disbelief, others nodding knowingly, while legal aides scribbled furiously, the judge's eyebrows knitting together as he tried to process the layered accusations, and the tension escalated when Robyn shifted to the most intimate secrets, ones involving private conversations with each wife where Kody had subtly pitted them against each other, framed misunderstandings, and created a sense of constant insecurity that left Janelle doubting her intuition, Meri questioning her value, and Robyn herself grappling with the conflict of loyalty and moral duty, and the camera cut repeatedly to their faces, Janelle's jaw tight, eyes blazing with indignation, Meri's quiet sobs giving way to searing fury, and Robyn's pale, determined expression as she recounted each painful memory, each betrayal, as though every word she spoke was a small act of liberation, a reclaiming of her voice after years of quiet complicity, and Kody, his composure eroding, tried to interject, to explain, to mitigate, but every excuse fell flat against Robyn's meticulously detailed testimony, and the audience could feel the shifting power dynamic, a man who had spent decades in the illusion of control now cornered, exposed, unable to hide behind charm or practiced calm, and as Robyn described instances of him manipulating children, prioritizing his desires over familial unity, and quietly orchestrating tensions between wives, the confessional cut-ins deepened the drama, Janelle recalling nights spent awake, questioning if she had imagined the patterns, if she had been too sensitive, Meri reflecting on the physical and emotional exhaustion of trying to maintain peace while invisible forces dictated outcomes, and Robyn admitting to her own conflicted feelings, the guilt of participating unknowingly in the web, and yet, finally, the courage to speak out. And as the courtroom absorbed each revelation, murmurs turned into whispers, whispers into audible reactions, the public gallery leaning forward, captivated by the unmasking of Kody's dual life.